I've been trying to call. I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love. Maybe I'm going through withdrawals. You don't even have to do too much. You can turn me on with just a touch, baby. I look around and since it's cold and empty, no one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep right until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm running out of time, 'cause I can see the sun light up the sky. So I hit the road in overdrive, baby. Hit the road in overdrive. The city's cold and empty. No one's around to judge me. I can't see clearly when you're gone. And I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I said, ooh, I'm drowning in the night. Oh, when I'm like this, you're the one I trust. I'm coming back to let you know I can never say it on the phone. But when I let it go this time, I said, ooh, I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. I'm blinded by the lights. No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch. Feel free to be whoever you wanna be. Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to please everybody. What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Two Tone Talk Podcast, episode 51, where I have already got people in the YouTube chat asking if I'm in a better mood today than I was on Friday. If you did not catch Friday's episode, the day after the Titans lost to the Steelers, I'd go back and check that one out. That one was a doozy. One of those where I kind of listened back later and kind of cracked up. Because it was all very genuine, folks. I was not in a good mood. Today, I'm in a better mood, I guess. Obviously, the Titans didn't play yesterday, so that probably has something to do with it. But you know what? I've just been thinking here today. And just indulge with me here. I've been thinking about what Aaron Rodgers had to say on the Pat McAfee show a couple of weeks ago. I've referenced it a few times here on the podcast, but it's worth repeating. Aaron Rodgers said simply, narratives change quick. Narratives change quick. Sometimes the narrative is that a certain team is awesome. And then within a week or two, the narrative about that team totally changes. Makes me think of a team like the San Francisco 49ers. They were 5-0. Everybody said, man, they are Super Bowl bound. They are the team to beat in the NFC. And maybe in the NFL as a whole. And now, suddenly, they've lost 3 games in a row. And they look completely lost. Because narratives change quick. Whatever you think about Aaron Rodgers, those are wise words. Narratives change quick. Makes me think of a team, because sometimes it's the opposite. Sometimes you think a team is dead in the water. And then suddenly, a couple weeks later, you look up and, hey, this team's actually not doing too bad. They're very much alive. Makes me think of a team like the Minnesota Vikings. A team who, a month ago, we thought they were an afterthought. They were a team that you were thinking could have maybe a top 5 draft pick. At least top 7 or 8. They looked horrible. Felt like Justin Jefferson didn't even want to be there. He was put on IR. Oh, they're dead in the water. But now all of a sudden, they won 4 games in a row? They bring in our old buddy Josh Dobbs. And look at what he was able to do yesterday. And now all of a sudden, people are kind of intrigued by the Vikings. How about the Jets? There's another team for you. Dead in the water. Hopeless. Now all of a sudden, what are they, like a half a game back in their division for first place? Because Aaron Rodgers, whatever you think about him, he was right. Narratives do change quick. Sometimes for the better, sometimes for the worse. Because the NFL is a week-to-week league, right? I mean, you of course have certain teams who are going to win a heck of a lot more than they lose. Philadelphia, Kansas City. Who else? Probably Cincinnati. You're going to have certain teams, but it's a week-to-week league. Denver beat the crap out of Kansas City last week. I don't know why. I don't know. I don't know how to make sense of that. So that all leads me to say this. Can the narrative change for the Tennessee Titans? Could the narrative change for the Tennessee Titans? Right now, the Titans are 3-5. And really, for the most part, look like a pretty bad team. Season kind of feels like, we're looking to the future. We're looking to Levis. We're looking to some of these other guys that'll be around next year. And this season kind of feels like a wash. And maybe it is. But you know what? I will just say this. Even to people like Will Dotson, who says this season can't be salvaged. He says in the chat, he says this season can't be salvaged with this coaching staff. I'm going to get to the coaching staff in a second. But all I'll say is this. On Sunday, the Tennessee Titans play the Tampa Bay Buccaneers in Tampa Bay. And that game is no gimme. Okay. Meanwhile, the Jacksonville Jaguars are going to be playing the San Francisco 49ers, who I referenced a second ago. The 49ers have lost 3 games in a row, but, you're just waiting on them to get it back on track, right? Also, the Houston Texans are going to be playing the Cincinnati Bengals Sunday. A tough game. I'm just saying. What are you guys thinking if the Titans are able to go beat Tampa Bay? And what happens if San Francisco beats Jacksonville? I'm not saying that's going to happen because San Francisco has looked bad the last 3 weeks, but it's not. It's definitely plausible. You could definitely imagine San Francisco beating Jacksonville. Okay. And somebody, CB in the chat says, I need more pessimism. We're getting there. We're getting to the pessimism. But I'm going to give a little bit. I just felt bad about how pessimistic I was the other day. So I'm bringing a little bit of optimism today. What happens if the Titans beat the Bucks? You could see that. I'm not saying it's going to happen. I'm saying you could see the Titans beating the Bucks. It wouldn't surprise you, probably, if the Titans beat the Bucks. It wouldn't surprise you if the 49ers were to beat the Jaguars. It wouldn't surprise you at all if the Bengals were to beat Houston. And if that happens, then Tennessee's 2 games back from Jacksonville and going on the road to play Jacksonville the next week. And all of a sudden you're interested again. All of that to say, narratives change quick. And things happen in the NFL sometimes that make no sense. So I say all of that for the people who still want to have hope. Because let's be honest, we can talk about the future, we can talk about next year's draft, we can talk about the offseason, which we are about to, but at the heart of it, man, we just want to see the team win. We want to have fun, we want to have fun watching, we want to feel like there's a chance that this team can make noise. That's when it's most fun. So, I mean, listen, it is plausible that after this Sunday, you could potentially have hope again. Because that's what this Titans team does, in case you haven't noticed. They dangle that carrot right in front of your face. They say, look at all this hope right here. Look at all this hope. And then right when you go to take a bite, they yank it away from you. But after Sunday, theoretically, the Titans could be 2 games behind Jacksonville with a chance to go play Jacksonville head-to-head next week. And all of a sudden, it's going to get interesting again. But in order for it to get interesting again, the Titans would have to do something that they haven't done all year, and that is win a freaking game on the road. They would have to go to Tampa Bay. Why are the Titans playing so many freaking road games this year? Well, they never play at home. But they have to go do something they haven't done all year, and that is beat Tampa Bay on the road, and they would need some help from the 49ers and from the Bengals, which are not 2 bad teams to need help from. But just saying, if you're looking for hope, if you're looking for optimism, you could very much have some of that after Sunday. Now, and that's another one, Connor. Connor in the chat brings up another good point. Another thing the Titans have not done yet all year would be win 2 games in a row. String together some wins. Not just a win followed by a terrible loss or 2, but a win followed by another win, and maybe, God forbid, even another one. All I'm saying is this, guys. The Titans schedule, they got to play Carolina. They got to play Indianapolis again. These are games they can win. I'm not saying they're going to, because they've already lost a bunch of games they should have won. They should have beaten the Saints. They should have beaten the Steelers. They should have beaten the Colts the first time. That's 3 right off the top of my head. I mean, the Browns killed them, so I'll just take that one. The Ravens, I mean, it's a miracle the Titans were even able to hang in there with them. But there's 3 losses against the Titans so far that they should have won. They should have beaten the Saints, they should have beaten the Colts, they should have beaten the Steelers, and they didn't. So don't take this as me saying the Titans are going to beat Tampa Bay, and they're going to beat Carolina, and they're going to beat Indianapolis, because the Titans have already on 3 occasions lost games that they should have won. All I'm saying is after all that pessimism the other day that I brought to the table, after all that negativity, hey, after Sunday, we could all be feeling a little hopeful again. Just for them to go to Jacksonville the next week and rip our hearts out. But, let's be realistic. Can that actually happen? Can the Titans actually salvage this season? I'm going to go ahead and tell you I'm very doubtful. Because this isn't a very... I'm sorry, guys. This isn't a very good roster. We're going to talk about coaching here in a little bit. But this isn't a very good roster that's been assembled here. Especially offensively. Okay, so I saw a tweet last night that really put things in perspective from Sean Caldron. First of all, the Tennessee Titans have had 31 undrafted players play in game for them so far this year. That's the most in the NFL. 31 guys who went undrafted who have played for the Tennessee Titans this year. 13 undrafted players have started for the Tennessee Titans this year. That is also the most in the NFL. 7 undrafted players have started 6 or more games so far this year. No other team has more than 4. So that's also the most in the NFL. The Titans right now are trying to win with a bunch of guys who were undrafted and a bunch of guys who they picked up off free agency that nobody else really wanted. The Tennessee Titans are trying to win with undrafted players and players that they picked up off the, from the dollar store in free agency because the Titans didn't have a lot of money to work with this past offseason. So honestly, if we're just telling the truth here, the Titans really shouldn't be good. I mean, when they're playing a bunch of undrafted guys and a bunch of guys they picked up in free agency at the free agency dollar store. So honestly, the Titans really shouldn't be good when you think of it. Okay. Obviously, they had a couple of guys. I mean, Arden Key and Hopkins, yeah, those were guys they brought in that they expected to perform well. But Dillard, Hubbard, some of these guys that they brought in, it's like you get what you get, You're secondary, you're playing guys like Trey Avery, you're playing guys like that out there who just, they just are what they are, So now you look to the offseason, and I know nobody wants to do that. We're in the middle of a season, but now that the Bears have signed Sweat before the trade deadline, the Titans will now go into the offseason with the most cap space of any team in the NFL. Number one most cap space in the NFL. And it appears they will go into the offseason with the most cap space in the NFL, and they will go into the offseason with their quarterback. I would think, based on what we've seen, they are going to build around Will Levis. Great. Okay, great. And that sounded sarcastic. That wasn't supposed to be sarcastic. I mean, great. He's looked good. You traded up in the second round for a guy who was projected to go in the top 10. He fell to you. Good for you. Looks like he's going to be a good quarterback. Maybe even a great one. You're going to need him to be, because I don't know if anybody watched C.J. Stroud and the Texans yesterday, but C.J. Stroud is going to be very good. I know he hasn't done what he did yesterday every week. I mean, there are some people who are already saying he's a top 5 quarterback in the NFL, which is one of the stupidest things I've ever heard. Come on. He just got shut down by Carolina a week ago. So let's not go crazy. Narratives change quick, don't they? He went from getting shut down by Carolina a week ago to going off against Tampa Bay, and now all of a sudden he's a top 5 quarterback. Let's calm down a little bit there, okay? Let's calm down. But he looks good. The Jags already have Trevor Lawrence, so we know what they got's good. Colts, I don't know. We'll have to see. Anthony Richardson didn't get to play a lot. But you need Will Levis to be the guy. You need him to be the guy, which is another reason why Ryan Tannehill, barring injuries to somebody else, should not take another snap for the rest of the season, right? We all agree with that. So if you go into the offseason and you've got Will Levis and you want to build around him and you know you've got your quarterback in place, great. Then go spend some money. Go spend some money. And you know what else? Everybody keeps saying the Titans need to use all that cap space to build a great offensive line. Sure. Yeah. I mean, the offensive line needs to be addressed. But you know what? You know one way you could address that without spending a dime? Because we just got word in here that Nicholas Petit-Frere, who was last year he was a starting right tackle for the Titans. Now, since he came back from suspension, he's been the starting left tackle because they benched Andre Dillard for Nicholas Petit-Frere. But then when the right tackle got hurt, Petit-Frere had to go back to right tackle, so Dillard had to come back in. It's been chaos, okay? But Nicholas Petit-Frere is likely done for the rest of the year. He's got to have surgery on his shoulder. Okay, I hate that for NPF, and I hope he makes speedy recovery. But assuming that Chris Hubbard is ready to come back in and play right tackle, there is no reason for Dylan Radins to not start at left tackle for the rest of the year. Because you know what? He's done pretty good every time he's been in there. And this coaching staff keeps saying that he's inconsistent. We don't feel like he gives us the best chance to win. Are you kidding me? This offensive line got considerably better when he went in Thursday night. In his young NFL career, where he has had very limited playing time, he's gone up against the Bosas. He's gone up against TJ Watt. And he's held his own against, I'm not saying he's great, but what if you put him in at left tackle for the rest of the year and he does well? Then, God forbid, you could bring him back next year as a starting left tackle. Him and Skoronski, you can bring Brewer back, fine. Hopefully Brunskill doesn't retire and he can come back. And now all you need to figure out is right tackle. Great! So, yeah, you can say we need to spend money on offensive line, but if Dylan Radins can perform well at left tackle for the rest of the year and go into next year being the guy, then you really don't have to spend that much on the offensive line. Because him and Skoronski's going to be back. He was their first round draft pick. Brewer's a little inconsistent, but he's been probably good enough to where you could bring him back. Brunskill, the right guard's been good, and then right tackle you can play around with, but we really wouldn't have to put that much into the offensive line if you would give Radins a shot and see if he's any good. If he sucks, then yeah, we need to go get a left tackle. But why are we putting off at least trying this guy? I said it last week. You would think this team would be desperate to hit on one of these early round draft picks. Dylan Radins was a second round pick in 2021. You should want him to be good. Man, somebody had a question a little bit ago that I wanted to get to. Oh, it was Mayo Man 8. I'm assuming an avid Will Levis supporter. Asked if I thought the interception that Will Levis threw at the end of the game, was that his fault? Was it a bad play call? I first of all, whether you think it was a bad play call or a bad decision, bad throw, whatever, it was a bad situation. 11 seconds to go, no timeouts, you got to throw it into the end zone. There's not a whole lot you can do. As far as Levis is concerned, I think there comes a time in games in that situation where you've got to say, okay, who's the best player running a route right now? Who is the best player that is running a route? I'm just going to throw it up to them. There's 11 seconds left. We got to throw it into the end zone. So who's the best player that's going to be running a route? I'm just going to throw it to them and see if they can do something crazy. In this case, that player would, of course, be DeAndre Hopkins, who I believe was lined up on the left side. He was covered, yes. It probably wouldn't have mattered, to throw it to him anyway, because they're probably going to bat it away, pick it off, whatever. But if I'm going to throw it up to somebody, I'm going to throw it up to him and not Josh Wiley, right? I mean, I would even throw it up to a guy like Chris Moore before I would throw it up to your tight end in the middle of the field. Now, ultimately, at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world because, like I said, it was 11 seconds, no timeouts. You got to throw it into the end zone. You got to do what you got to do. Now, watching the routes that were run, it looked like they just ran 4 verticals, which I don't know how that is a good decision because, like, you could have guys get to the end zone and at least kind of run a route instead of just. But I mean, you don't want to run a route short of the end zone, I guess. You don't want to run a route short of the end zone because if you get tackled short of the end zone, like the Cowboys did yesterday, then the game's over. But it's a no-win. There's really Really not a lot you could do. I know Evan said that it looked like Westbrook Akine was open. I don't know if it's that simple. I don't know. I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of Steelers back there in that end zone, and I don't know. A lot of guys can run over and make plays. Whatever. I don't. I think it was just a bad situation to be in. Back to the Titans as a whole. If you look to the future, yes, there's, regardless of how the rest of this season goes, if you go into the offseason with Levis, you have a lot of money to spend. I could tell you one guy who's going to be a free agent that I would love to have is wide receiver T. Higgins. I know there's going to be a lot of people trying to get him, but we got more money than anybody else. So I'd love to get T. Higgins from Cincinnati. And obviously, I think that there are some other, this is going to be a deep draft class at a lot of different positions, not the least of which is wide receiver. I am of the mindset, I want to get as much talent on the outside as we can possibly get. Because, you look at quarterbacks right now, these young quarterbacks who are successful, they have immense talent everywhere around them. I think you need to just stack the offense with talent and put put Levis in a position to succeed. Obviously, tight end is a position that's lacking for the Titans because Chigo Okonkwo has really regressed. Josh Wiley has shown potential at times, but he's a rookie. Who knows? I would love, the kid from Georgia, Bowers, sure wouldn't hate to have him on the team. Connor says, and also Justin has a good point, that our secondary is also going to need help too. We're talking about offense, but our defense looks bad too. So, we need secondary help. Why? Maybe we shouldn't have got rid of Jim Schwartz, because when he was here helping coach this defense, they looked great. Now he's in Cleveland, and Cleveland's defense looks great, and the Titans doesn't. But Connor said, what are your thoughts if you see Vrabel announce Tannehill will start? So, I want to first of all say, that's something that I planned on talking about today because that's something that a lot of people are talking about. I want to first of all say that I don't think that's going to happen. I think that Vrabel is unnecessarily difficult when it comes to press conferences and announcing things to the media and to the fans. I think he's incredibly annoying when it comes to that stuff because I don't know if he thinks it's a competitive advantage or what, but I do not think that the Titans are going to announce Ryan Tannehill as the starter. There is absolutely no merit in having Tannehill take another snap for this team. There's no good reason to do that. Even if Levis had not looked great so far, by the way, even if Levis had just been okay, there is still no merit in Ryan Tannehill taking any snaps because the Titans are 3-5. I mentioned earlier, there might be hope on the horizon depending on how things go Sunday, but overall, it feels like this team's not going to do very much this season. Levis has looked great in the 2 starts that he's had, so there's no reason for, it literally makes 0 sense. And I don't think that I would be shocked if they announced Tannehill's the starter. I don't think they're going to do that, okay? If for no other reason, I think at the heart of it, I don't think Vrabel's an idiot. Okay, Vrabel may be stubborn, he may be difficult, he might annoy a lot of us at times, but at the heart of it, he's not an idiot. And he knows that for the franchise, for the organization, for the future, he knows Ryan Tannehill's not going to be back on this team next year, nor should he be. He knows Will Levis needs to be their guy. I don't think Vrabel's an idiot. He's stubborn, but he's not an idiot. But even if he decides to be an idiot and make a push for Tannehill to start, which I would be shocked, you've got other people that play here. Those people being Rand Carthon and Amy Adams-Strunk. There's a new stadium being built in a few years. There's a lot of money that needs to be spent this offseason. There's going to be a probably high draft pick that needs to be made. there's a lot getting ready to happen in the terms of change for this team. And if, like, I feel like one of them would step in at some point. If Vrabel really tried that to make Tannehill the starter, somebody else would surely step in and say, no, that is stupid and we're not doing it. Okay? Because Vrabel has to answer to these people. Okay? They hired him. They are his bosses. He has to answer to these people. So I don't think Vrabel is just going to go rogue and be like, well, I want Tannehill to start because I like him better. I don't even know if he likes him better. I'm not just going to push a narrative that I don't even know for sure. But even if he tried to do that, there are other people that play here who I think would put a stop to it and be like, dude, no, this makes no sense. Now, if they announce Tannehill's the starter, it's not just a failure by Vrabel. It is a failure by the entire organization. That's what that means. If they announce Tannehill as a starter, it is a failure by Mike Vrabel. It is a failure by Rand Carthon. It's a failure by Amy Adams-Strunk. If they announce that, that's a failure by everyone. A failure by the whole organization. Vrabel, number one, and then those other two as well. I don't think it's going to happen, though. I am treating it as though that's not going to happen because it makes no sense. Especially after you watched C.J. Stroud, especially knowing Trevor Lawrence is in your division. It makes no sense to go back to a guy who literally is 35, a statue in the pocket, and, is going to not be on the team at the end of the year. There's no logical reason to do it, and I don't think they're going to do it. Now, if they do it, Vrabel's seat will then, of course, be on fire. His seat, which I think, listen, I said this on Twitter. Go follow me on Twitter, by the way, at Two Tone Talk. In a lot of fans' mind, Vrabel's on a very hot seat. I want to say right now, with complete confidence, in Amy Adams' mind, in the organization's mind, I don't even think Vrabel's seat is warm to them. I don't even think his seat is warm. I think they view it as he's our head coach. He's going to be our head coach. He's our guy. I don't think they're looking at Vrabel and being like, oh, should we think about firing this guy? I don't even think they're considering it. And honestly, listen, I know everybody's like down on Vrabel, and I'm kind of, half in, half out with you, but there is something to the argument that you could say, hey, the Titans have a bad roster. This is just one of those years. They have a bad roster, and they just don't have what it takes to compete with a lot of these teams. Which would be essentially saying it's not really all on Vrabel. There's only so much you can do. Making chicken stew out of chicken, you know what. I don't know, man. I mean, I get that. I get giving him the benefit of the doubt and saying, hey, with this roster, there's only so much you can do. But, like, he helped form this roster. Right? I mean, it's not all on him. John Robinson is the leading cause as to why this roster sucks. But, like, Vrabel was there, too. And Connor has a point. All the elite teams in the NFL have offensive-minded head coaches. Ours is a defensive-minded head coach, and our defense ain't even good. Justin asked, do you think D-Hop even wants to stay next year? I do, actually. I think D-Hop actually seems to be pretty happy with the Titans. I think D-Hop, I think D-Hop just enjoys playing football. I think he just enjoys being out there and making money. Justin also said the Titans are giving Vrabel the benefit of the doubt that he's fixing, this is a good point, that he's fixing J-Rob's mistakes and it's not going to happen overnight. I agree. That would be my argument. We had a GM who was so bad at his job he got fired in the middle of the year. This is kind of his roster. It's exactly nearly the same argument that a lot of people would have had. Take, for example, the first year that Nick Saban coached the Alabama Crimson Tide. They weren't very good. But everybody said, hey, you know what? He's playing with the other guys' players. the coach before him who wasn't very good. He's trying to play with those guys. He doesn't have his guys here yet. Then he got his guys, Saban did, and obviously look what's happened since. But is this really, I mean, that's a kind of a comparison, but are we still, I mean, I don't know how it all works, but are we going to pretend Vrabel's totally helpless in forming this roster even when J-Rob was here? Are we going to act like Vrabel had no part in that? Trading AJ and, drafting Dez Fitzpatrick and drafting Isaiah Wilson and Caleb Farley and Traylon Burks. Are we going to pretend Vrabel had nothing to do with that? I mean, I don't know. Maybe you guys know more than I do. Is the head coach totally helpless? I know the GM has the final say. And there were reports after J-Rob got fired that Vrabel did not want to do some of these things, and his voice wasn't really heard, and J-Rob kind of ignored people. I mean, I don't know. I don't know these people. I don't know what goes on behind closed doors, and neither do you. But, I don't know, are head coaches totally helpless in that situation? Like, they have no say in forming the roster? Or getting rid of guys? And speaking of getting rid of guys, I mean, since the Titans weren't playing yesterday, I had the opportunity to watch, other teams as I watch David Long playing very well for the Dolphins. I watch A.J. Brown, obviously, who is the best wide receiver in the NFL right now, playing for the Eagles. I watch Jonnu Smith for the Falcons taking off, scored a touchdown. The Titans had, the Eagles had Zach Cunningham making plays defensively last night. Byard, of course, out there. I'm like, dude, all of these former Titans who are not on our team anymore, and I get it's a business. Sometimes you have to cut ties with guys for different reasons, but it's like, man, to watch all these players we used to have who are now tearing it up in other places, man. Justin says he doesn't think Vrabel had any say in J-Rob's tenure, but now he may be the one in charge and Rand's just there building what he... I mean, I don't know. I think there was some thinking that said that Vrabel didn't have as much of a say when J-Rob was there. I mean, that certainly was the indication that there were times when J-Rob kind of went rogue and did his own thing without consulting. I mean, there is some evidence to support that, because never forget, when John Robinson was asked who the analytics department was for the Titans, he said himself. Remember that? Because a lot of these teams, all of them have analytics departments when it comes to drafting players. J-Rob was like, yeah, we don't have one of those. I'm the analytics department. It's like, yeah, so I can believe that this guy probably made his own decisions without consulting with anybody or caring about their input. But I don't know. Vrabel definitely, his seat's warmer than it was, but so the report about the Patriots, that the Patriots want Vrabel to be the coach after Belichick leaves or gets fired or retires or whatever. I want to first of all say that I don't think they're getting rid of Belichick anytime soon. Like, I don't think they're looking to move on. I think in the future, whenever Belichick... I think they probably want Belichick to retire with them, and then whenever he retires, they want Vrabel to take over afterwards, and they're willing to make a trade for Vrabel with the Titans. I mean, it would make sense for Vrabel to do that. I mean, that's... the Patriots were where he played. Belichick just signed a new deal with the Patriots, did he not? I will say, I mean, if you were going to, because if the Patriots wanted to trade a first-round pick for Vrabel, this would be a good year to trade with them, because they're probably going to have like a top 5 pick in the draft. They're 2-7. So, I mean, the Patriots are probably going to have a high pick in the draft. So, I mean, it wouldn't be a bad year to trade with them in that regard. But I don't think the Titans are going to do that. I don't think, because like I said earlier, I don't think Amy Adams Strunk feels the same way about Vrabel that a lot of us do, or a lot of you do. I mean, I'm not as out on Vrabel as some of y'all, but I don't think the Titans organization feels the same way about Vrabel that a lot of you guys do. I think they still view him as the coach of the year that he was 2 years ago. They still view him as the leader of men that they hired all those many years ago. They still view him as the coach of the future. Now, depending on how the rest of this season goes, I mean, I don't know. What would have to happen that would be so bad that the Titans would sour on Vrabel? Maybe naming Tannehill the starter. That would be something that you would be like, bro, are you kidding me? Okay, maybe. But I don't think that's going to happen. I mean, ultimately, at the end of the day, I feel like the Titans are going to look and say, okay, we've got our cap space, most in the NFL. We're probably going to have a higher draft pick. We got our quarterback. Let's go. Let's rebuild this team and let's go. I don't know. And I also believe, regarding Vrabel, I feel like he is a lot different probably behind closed doors than what we see in press conferences. I feel like he doesn't like reporters. I feel like he doesn't like press conferences. I feel like he doesn't like giving away very much information at all. I feel like he likes to stand up there and talk while actually saying nothing. And I feel like he's probably not like that behind closed doors. And that's still annoying because I think, to me, we're the fans. We're the ones buying the merchandise. We're the one buying the jerseys. We're the ones giving of our time to watch this team. We're the ones paying for tickets to go to games. We're the ones who love this team so much. Don't you think we deserve a little bit of, transparency? I mean, there's an argument for you. We're the people spending our hard-earned money on tickets and jerseys and all of this stuff. We're the ones who have Titans memorabilia in our home. Don't you think we deserve a little bit of transparency for all of our fandom? I mean, yeah, there's something to be said there. Justin said he could see Rand Carthon bringing in Brandon Ayuk from the 49ers. I wouldn't hate that. Ayuk's a good receiver. And Khalil also said he feels like Vrabel is much more behind Will Levis in private than he is in front of the media, and I agree. You would have to be an idiot to not be like, hey, that's the future of our team. That's the guy we drafted. That's the guy that we want to give the job to. That's the guy who's going to quarterback this team for the future. We need to stop dragging our feet. He would have to just have a total lack of any knowledge at all of football to not go with him the rest of the way. So there you go. Just some, Titans didn't play yesterday, so this is a different type episode because we're not talking about what happened yesterday with the Titans. We're talking about just the state of the team and how things are going. But going forward, I am treating it as though the Titans are not making a push, to be a playoff team. Although, like I said at the beginning, if they beat Tampa Bay and get some help from the 49ers over the Jags, the Bengals over the Texans, all of a sudden you're gonna start feeling a little good about them again. But I think that other than that, I want to see Levis as the guy going forward. I want to see Dylan Radins at left tackle the rest of the way. I would assume Treylon Burks is going to miss a lot of time after the injury we saw to him, and that's disappointing. Obviously, his health is the most important thing, but, that's a first-round draft pick that is yet to pan out even at all. But I would love to see Chig Okonkwo get his act together. I would like to see Kyle Phillips continue to get involved. I actually liked what I saw from Kyle Phillips the other night. Defensively, I don't know. I don't know. Figure out who in this secondary can contribute next year at all. I don't know what else to say about the defense other than figure it out and learn how to tackle people and stop the run and the pass and everything else. I want to talk about some of what I saw yesterday in the games, because now that the Titans didn't play yesterday, I was able to watch all the other teams, kind of get a good look at what's going on with other teams in the NFL. Dolphins and Chiefs in Germany. Chiefs got back on track with a win. Narratives changed quick. A week ago, everybody was saying, what's wrong with the Chiefs? Now they went and they whooped the Dolphins, and the Chiefs could probably clinch their division like in a couple weeks because they're, the nearest team to them is like 4 games away. But the Dolphins lost. Dolphins have yet to beat a team over 500. You look at the teams the Dolphins have beaten, it's not a very impressive list. And then they've lost to all of the good teams they've played. So that's something concerning for the Dolphins. And, Tua's a good quarterback. I just feel like when it comes down to it, he is just a step below the Jalen Hurts of the world, the Trevor Lawrences, the Justin Herberts, and, of course, the Patrick Mahomes and stuff like that. But the Chiefs beat the Dolphins in Germany. Ravens, I think the Ravens were one of the most impressive teams in football right now. You look at what the Ravens have done over the last 3 weeks. They put a whooping on the Detroit Lions a couple weeks ago, 38-7, I think. The Lions are good. The Lions are a good team. The Ravens decimated them. And then yesterday, the Ravens beat the Seahawks 37-3. The Seahawks are a good team, too. As a matter of fact, I do these Two-Tone Talk power rankings every Friday. The Lions and the Seahawks both in the top 10. And the Ravens didn't just beat them, absolutely destroyed them. So the Ravens, they look legit. And I said it last night, probably the most impressive thing the Titans have done this year is hang in there with the Ravens in London. Because the Ravens are whooping people. They're not just whooping teams, they're whooping good teams. They beat the Seahawks 37-3. Browns over the Cardinals 27-0. Watson's back. I know it's hard to gauge exactly how good of a win this is because Arizona's probably the worst team in the league. But, Cleveland shut them out. Their defense is great. Now with Watson back, their offense looks better. And, they're really making some noise in that wild card race there in the AFC. Texans over the Bucks 39-37. This was a wake-up call to teams like the Titans and the Jaguars and the Colts that the Texans have a guy there who, looks very good. Looks very good. And the Texans, if he continues that trend, you're looking at a problem there in Houston with C.J. Stroud. 470 yards, 5 touchdowns yesterday. Not against a not very good defense in Tampa Bay, by the way, and that's who the Titans play next. So I'll be anxious to see how Will Levis does against the Bucks. But C.J. Stroud was fantastic yesterday, and I hope that doesn't continue. But they beat the Bucks 39-37, a heartbreaker for the Bucks too. This would have put them back in the mix in their division, and they just had their hearts ripped out. Saints over the Bears 24-17. The Saints are now in sole possession of first place in their division. So narratives change quick. The Saints looked completely lost a couple of weeks ago, and now all of a sudden they're in sole possession of first place in their division. Because the NFL is a big old roller coaster ride for every team. Vikings over the Falcons 31-28, the Josh Dobbs show. I'm going to talk about the Vikings and Dobbs in a second. You want to talk about hot seats? I would consider Arthur Smith, head coach of the Falcons, former offensive coordinator for the Titans. I would think his seat's getting kind of warm. Hotter and hotter with every passing week. Narratives change quick, right? The Falcons were in sole possession of first place in their division 2 weeks ago. And now they have been utterly decimated. Their defense, which was like a top 5 defense a couple weeks ago, has been totally decimated now 2 weeks in a row by a rookie playing in their first game, starting their first game ever, Will Levis, and then a guy in Josh Dobbs who had only been on the team for 5 days, didn't even know the names of his teammates. And now they're on the outside looking in their division. I would think, Arthur, not to mention Bijan Robinson, your first-round draft pick, is just not on the field a bunch. Desmond Ridder appears to be a big old miss. And I don't know, man. Arthur Smith's seat's heating up, and now they play Arizona. If you lose to Arizona, the seat's going to be on fire. You cannot lose to Arizona this Sunday. But the Vikings, Josh Dobbs, I'm very happy for Josh Dobbs. Good guy who apparently, I mean, he's a legitimately smart guy who was with the Titans for 8 days last year and then had to come in and essentially play a playoff game for them against Jacksonville and did a good job. I mean, gave him a chance to win. Started in Arizona on one of the worst rosters in the league, and now he comes in with Minnesota, comes in there, and I mean, just made some unbelievable plays for them yesterday. Good for him, and the Vikings are alive. They've won 4 games in a row, and Justin Jefferson, who is one of the best receivers in football, getting ready to come back and join them. So look out for Minnesota. Rams-Packers, I believe, I mean, I know the Packers won this game convincingly, but yeah, no Matt Stafford in this game. The guy who played didn't do very well. So there's that. But I mean, the Packers, they were looking completely lifeless. So this is good for them to get in the win column. Commanders over the Patriots 20-17. From what I watched of this game, I mean, this is just 2 bad teams here. Commanders and Patriots, 2 bad teams. But the Commanders got the win, and the Patriots are on life support. Colts, Panthers. Panthers are horrible. I mean, they're just horrible. Bryce Young looks bad. He's not really in a position to succeed, though. And the Colts somehow keep churning out wins with Gardner Minshew and stuff like that. So the Colts, while not being great, you know, they're all right, which is about the best they could hope for this year. They beat the Panthers yesterday. The Raiders all over the Giants 30-6. And this Raiders team looked completely rejuvenated. Devontae Adams looked like he cared. And the Raiders put a whooping on the Giants who now Daniel Jones has torn his ACL. He's out for the rest of the year. Tyrod Taylor, the backup's on IR, so are they going to have to go with this Tommy DeVito guy the rest of the way? Bro, they need Dobbs in New York. But the Raiders, I mean, my gosh, what did Josh McDaniels do to this organization? I mean, the locker room clip of them, everybody looks happy and they're jumping around and having a good time on the field. Like, what did Josh McDaniels do to this team? They looked so miserable, and now they look so happy now that he's gone. Jeez. Eagles over the Cowboys 28-23. Great game. I mean, the Cowboys, you know, had a chance. I mean, this could be an NFC Championship preview here. A.J. Brown's unbelievable once again, and Eagles get the win, and they look like the best team in football right now. But another team who looks like a top 5 team in football, the Bengals. Over the Bills last night, 24-18. First of all, I want to talk about the Bills. I think the Bills' Super Bowl window is closing. The Bills do not look as good as they've been. I think the Bills are probably still a playoff team, but I don't think they're a contender like they have been. They just look a little lost right now. But the Bengals don't. The Bengals have found their way. This is not the same Bengals team that the Titans beat in Week 4. In fact, I don't think the Bengals have lost a game since then, and they've got some quality wins. I mean, they've now beat the 49ers and the Bills back-to-back. So good stuff happening for the Bengals. And Burrow, once again, looking like one of the best in the game. So, that's it for today. I'll be back Friday to preview. Actually, no, I won't. Oh, no. I'm going to have to be back Thursday, because Friday I'm going to be in the mountains. So Thursday this week, there's an announcement for you. Two-Tone Talk, next episode will be Thursday instead of Friday, because Friday, again, I will be in the mountains. So I will be back Thursday with Two-Tone Talk to preview Titans-Bucks, to preview all of the action going on this weekend. And this is the Two-Tone Talk podcast. I will see everybody Thursday. We're staying way too high on the wins, way too low on the losses. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Even on our worst days, it's still tighten up always. And I hope everybody has a good rest of your Monday and rest of your week. I'm going to get some lunch. I'm starving. Thank you guys. Take it and soak it up. Actually, no, don't take it and soak it up. That's what I say on my other channel. Right here, we just say tighten up. Bye, everybody.
Feel free to dance, feel free to sing, just feel free. Feels like the world is picking on ya. Feels like it's picking on me. But trying to